about something our government was doing. The state of Alabama has a Sanctity of Marriage Act and another clause that prevents same-sex marriage. A couple, lesbian couple who was married in California in 2008, have a son. They now live in Mobile, so their marriage is no longer recognized. It's not recognized by the state of Alabama. One of the partners wanted to adopt the other partner's son so that she had parental rights. Since she's helping to raise the child, she should have those rights. Of course, her petition for adoption was denied, pretty much on the basis that she was a lesbian and their marriage was not recognized, although you don't have to be married in order to adopt. So basically it was discrimination because of her sexual orientation. So they filed a suit. I think it's the 6th district, not sure, but the federal judge in the suit, which the couple was the plaintiff, the defendant was the Attorney General of the state of Alabama. The only reasons that he could give to block this action was the same reasons Alabama gave for instituting the ban on same-sex marriage, which was, excuse me, that it would interfere with the biological raising of children. The judge correctly surmised that it would not do so, that the ban was discriminatory, went against the 14th Amendment, because it only was biased against same-sex couples. Other couples who could not have children, infertile couples, elderly couples beyond childbearing age, couples who preferred not to have children, were not barred from being married or having parental rights if they so chose, such as elderly couples who then adopt a single mother's child or grandchild. So it was a purely discriminatory act and went against the 14th Amendment. So rather than just ruling that the mother be able to adopt the child legally, she ruled that the Alabama statutes were unconstitutional, which basically removed the ban on gay marriage. If the statutes are unconstitutional, they're no longer binding, that you cannot prevent same-sex couples from being married. Alabama Probate Association decided they didn't have to follow the ruling because it only applied to that couple, which when you declare the statutes unconstitutional at the federal level, it applies to anybody that's affected by those statutes. And we're telling probate judges to ignore the ruling and not issue marriage certificates to same-sex couples. Of course, probate judges do not have that authority. They cannot go by their preferences. They are expected to follow the law, and they cannot overrule a federal judge in any case. The Attorney General asked for a stay. Reason being, he thought that he would win on appeal, even though the only arguments he could present were the same arguments he presented when he asked for a summary judgment, which was denied, because it was the same biological child-rearing argument, which is ridiculous. The same judge that issued the ruling denied each of his points, yet then issued a stay anyway, which to me was cowardly. If you're going to say it's unconstitutional and make a decision, then say this should go into effect immediately. It doesn't matter that the Supreme Court might overrule it in June. It doesn't matter if the 11th Circuit Court might overrule it, which the 11th Circuit Court has already denied an appeal in a case, the same situation in Florida, which is why same-sex marriage is now allowed in Florida. Yet she instituted a 2-week stay on her decision and said she would clarify it because the probates were so confused. They weren't confused, they were just saying they were going to remain bigots regardless of the federal judge's decision. So on one hand, I was proud of her for making the decision that she made. On the other hand, I'm extremely upset that she granted this stay. It's only a 14-day stay, and it's to allow the Attorney General time to come up with arguments and present a case to the 11th Circuit Court and make an appeal. Now, if the 11th Circuit Court does not extend that stay or institute their own stay or denies the appeal, then her decision will go into effect, which to me there's no reason for the decision not to go into effect immediately. If you're going to make a decision, then make it. Don't waffle. Don't be cowardly about it. Make the decision. So on the one hand, Alabama was about to be forced to release some of its bigotry, legally anyway. The bigotry would still remain in individuals, but those individuals could no longer use their preferences or their religion to control other people. So I'm happy that the ruling came through and extremely disappointed that she would then issue a stay against her own ruling. Hopefully, the 11th Circuit Court will do the exact same thing it did in the Florida case and uphold her decision and refuse to hear the appeal, which means that on February 9th, same-sex marriage will become legal in the state of Alabama. The unfortunate side effect of this is that these parents who actually won the case, so that the one partner would then be able to adopt the child and have parental rights, and their marriage from California would now be recognized in the state of Alabama, now have to wait 2 weeks before the ruling takes effect. I hope not. I hope there is a probate judge who says, okay, they won the case, there's a stay, so we don't have to grant any or recognize her marriage or give out marriage licenses for the next 2 weeks, but would allow the adoption anyway. One probate judge did go on record stating that unless a stay was granted, then Monday morning, today, he would begin issuing marriage licenses. Unfortunately, the stay was granted to give probate judges time to be trained on the ruling and understand the ruling, to change forms or what have you, which why there would be a need to change the forms, I don't know. I guess to say partner instead of male or female, or husband or wife. Or to say husband and wife instead of husband and wife. But even then, you don't need 2 weeks for that. You don't need 2 weeks to clarify your ruling. She could have clarified it over the weekend. I mean, that was one of the arguments that the Attorney General presented, was that there was no way they could roll everything over because the decision was made on a Friday and start instituting immediately on Monday, which is completely stupid, asinine, if you ask me. And even though the judge disagreed with him, she issued the stay anyway, which to me is sad. But again, it shows the level of bigotry presented by religions and the power that they hold over this nation. And to me, shows how much they're exactly like ISIS or Muslim extremists in the way that they want to control everyone, force everyone to conform to their religious beliefs. And it is sad that in this day and age, this type of bigotry is allowed to continue at the level that it is at. It makes me despair for the human race. I don't know very many homosexuals, transsexuals. I don't think I know any transsexuals, to be honest. And whether I agree with their lifestyle or not, I recognize that it's not necessarily a choice. Some people, it may be a choice. Some are born that way. They don't have a choice. But irregardless of whether it's a personal preference or just the way they're born, there's no reason to stop them from living the lifestyle they choose when it causes harm to no one. There is no reason to deny them the joy of raising children when it harms no one. My own mother said, well, it harms the child because they're picked on in school for having a homosexual parents. And to me, that's not the fault of the homosexual couple. That's not the fault of that child. That's the fault of the bigots who teach their children to behave in this manner. That is what needs to be corrected. Stopping other people from living as they choose or having children is not the way to correct this. It upsets me greatly that anybody can hold this opinion, be it my parents, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, whoever. I think it is sad and inexcusable to hold these bigotries that are preached by religions. One, the mainstay of all Christian faiths, as far as I know Catholics, Southern Baptists, Pentecostals. I know some churches, Christian churches, accept homosexuals now, even though it goes against what's in the Bible. People give God the attributes they want him to have rather than the attributes that are in this inerrant word. Although the Catholics don't look at it that way. They believe that they should follow the teachings of the church rather than Scripture. They should follow the Catholic catechism rather than the actual Bible. But to hold these bigotries today is ridiculous. With the knowledge that we now have, our understandings of the human psyche and the fact that we know other animals are born homosexual, not just human beings, which makes it a natural occurrence. That we know it is not a choice for the most part. To hold these bigotries anyway, it sickens me. It makes me despair for the human race. I'm sorry that the state I love for its beauty, its beaches, if not for the people within it, holds these views. It makes me feel as though I should apologize to HBLT people. I was brought up with these bigotries. I had to change them on my own and overcome them. Overcome the prejudices that I was taught to hold. And at times, some of those prejudices are still a struggle for me. I couldn't say I'm comfortable around two men kissing or making out or whatever. But that does not give me the right to stop them from living life as they choose. Like I said, the mainstay of these religions, sorry I got distracted there, is that God gave mankind free will. So that they could decide during this lifetime whether to worship him or not. To live life as they chose, and then they would see judgment at the end of this life. And he reserves the right to judgment, does not grant it to human beings. Yet, all these religions seek to contravene that free will, to stand in front of it, to stop people from living the lifestyle they choose. And if it was pedophilia, something that harmed other people, I would agree. Which my dad compared consenting adults, homosexual adults, living the lifestyle they choose to pedophilia. He said, what if this guy decides pedophilia is okay? Well, that doesn't make it okay because the child is not consenting. And even if the child is tricked into consenting or convinced that it's okay, it still doesn't make it right because they're not of an age of reason. They cannot think these things through on their own or make their own choice. So the two are incomparable. And to compare them to each other is ridiculous and sad that people can still think this way. It just shows the level of indoctrination that they have been through and how strong people will hold on to these bigotries so they can hold on to their wishful thinking that there's life after death and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Although, as Matt Dillahunty has said, my parents won't be my parents when they get to heaven if it actually exists. Because I, who have committed the one unpardonable sin in the Bible, which is to not deny Christ after hearing of him, and can no longer be saved no matter what, would be burning in hell, and they would be eternally happy. So they would either forget about me, no longer care about me, or as some verses in the Bible say, take joy in watching the torments I am going through. Those beings would no longer be my parents. And they can't see the contradiction in this. So it is sad. To me, it's inexcusable for people to continue to maintain these bigotries. I don't agree with my parents with this. I never will. And I doubt they will ever change to come to my viewpoint. As long as they wish to continue holding the beliefs they hold, that's fine. But when those beliefs are harmful and hurt other people, they become wrong in my book. And they don't see that holding these bigotries is harmful. They don't think it hurts anybody. Yet when you have a gay couple who has lived as a married couple, whether they've been allowed to marry under the law or not, and one partner cannot make medical decisions for the other partner, cannot be covered under his partner's family medical insurance, cannot have parental rights to the child if one exists in the couple, is extremely painful to these people. It does harm these people. It prevents them from living a full life. And our Constitution, or is it Declaration of Independence, says that all men have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's everybody, regardless of sexual orientation. Our 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law. And to continue having laws that discriminate against people based off race, religion, or sexual preference is harmful. It's why we need to start considering whether these beliefs are worthy of our people now, are worth holding on to. The whole ordeal that these couples are going through currently in the state of Alabama and other states saddens me. Because, like I said, whether I agree with the lifestyle or not, whether I understand it, it is not my place to tell them they cannot have that lifestyle, that they cannot do what makes them happy even when it harms no one else. I think it's sad, and I think it's ridiculous that this judge would issue a stay on her own ruling and prevent these couples from moving forward with adoptions, marriages, and so forth, when she herself ruled that it was unconstitutional.